Small Worlds, a miniature museum located in Ariake, Tokyo. You will find an airport, a world of cities, a space center. This video is made so that first-time visitors can watch it beforehand and enjoy the experience more deeply. Now, from the real world to a small world. First, let me introduce the Space Center area. Here, two different eras exist simultaneously within the same space. On the right side, the 1960s, when humanity aimed for the moon. On the left, a space center of the future that continues to evolve. In the 1960s area, rocket launch scenes from that era are recreated. Nearby, you can see spectators watching the launch, along with nostalgic American cars. This area is not so much about the rocket itself, but rather a recreation of a time when society as a whole was fascinated by rockets. By the way, the rocket was under construction this time. Unfortunately, you can tell that the area itself is still evolving and being updated. Meanwhile, in the future area, shuttles launch from a spaceport. You can also see residential facilities on Mars and work vehicles, including future vehicles that transform into humanoid forms. If this is your first visit, start by finding the timetable and information displays. Once you know what will happen next, the waiting time becomes enjoyable. And in this space center, there is also a bird's-eye view experience where you can look around 360 degrees from the central opening. When your perspective changes, stories you couldn't see before suddenly appear. This area allows you to experience humanity's challenge in a small world. Next is the World of Cities area. This is a fictional world based on the Industrial Revolution of the early 1900s. Instead of electronic technology, science developed using steam and clockwork as power sources. This is the so-called steampunk worldview. Simply put, it is an imagined world where civilization evolved differently in an earlier era. The World of Cities is made up of 5 nations. First, Snow Mine Peaks, a mining city that developed in an extreme cold environment. Surrounded by snowy mountains, this city hides a mysterious mineral called gigramite, which releases electric-like power when struck. Vehicles called snow gears race across snow and ice at high speed. Their design combines steam engines and sleds, making them unmistakably steampunk in style. Next, Dragon Village. This is a fantasy world where humans and dragons live together. Dragons are depicted not as legends or threats, but as part of everyday life. The third is Wall Sanctuary, a city surrounded by white walls with a grand cathedral honoring fallen dragons. At the same time, a resort area stretches along the coast. It is a place where people enjoy vacations and spend peaceful time. A city where faith and tourism coexist. The fourth is the royal capital, the center of politics and technology. Trains and vehicles move across elevated structures that cross at right angles. In the sky, airships carry nobles. These are also symbols of steampunk. Higher areas are reserved for rulers and nobles. Lower areas are living spaces for workers. The city's structure itself represents social hierarchy. Finally, Tenzekimon, a multinational commercial district with an Asian atmosphere. It shows completely different expressions during the day and at night. By day, it is a lively city lined with markets and shops. At night, neon lights and signs come alive, transforming it into a mysterious and captivating space. At Small Worlds, one full day passes in about 15 minutes. Tenzekimon is the place where you can most clearly experience this transition from day to night. This world of cities feels like a place that could exist somewhere, yet nowhere. A single vast stage where steampunk and fantasy intertwine. Next is the Kansai International Airport area. Here, the daily life of a modern mega airport is recreated at a 1/80th scale. Aircraft move along taxiways and repeatedly take off and land. Different engine sounds are reproduced for each aircraft. From daytime to evening and then to night, the airport's atmosphere changes with the passage of time. Here as well, one day at the airport passes in about 15 minutes, and its expression shifts with time. Inside the terminal, you can see electronic signboards and the lobby. On the ground, mechanics and marshals support the airport. Near this area, there is also an airport lounge. Sofas actually used at Kansai International Airport are placed here, blurring the boundary between reality and miniature. After walking a bit, we take a short break here. On the second floor of Small Worlds, there is a restaurant area. Near the entrance, there are small miniature objects on display, and the world's atmosphere continues even here. As you walk down the corridor, round tables appear under a beautiful ceiling inspired by a starry sky. Keiko chose a coarse sausage hot dog and an iced caramel whipped latte. Keiji chose a fluffy omelet rice and a Kuromitsu Kinako Warabi mochi latte. Being able to take a proper break along the way is also one of the great things about Small Worlds. Here, let me introduce another major feature of Small Worlds. That feature is the buttons. Buttons are installed throughout the facility. When you press one, something always happens. Pressing a button can set cities in motion, launch vehicles, or change lights and sounds. In other words, your actions are what move this world. However, not all buttons are easy to understand. Some don't make it clear what has happened, even after pressing them. Some require you to look at places a bit farther away. Please press the buttons and take part in this world. From here, we enter the world of Evangelion. The world of Evangelion New Theatrical Edition, Tokyo 3, is recreated here. This city has two faces, a peaceful everyday city and a fortress in times of battle. First, the city in its calm state. The everyday lives of the characters are also recreated. Schools, apartment buildings, shops within the city. Times without battle, this ordinary life forms the foundation of the city. When the siren sounds, the city is stored underground. Buildings sink, roads disappear, and the city transforms into one built for battle. A defense system designed to prepare for the Shito's attack. The moment the city itself becomes a massive fortress. Eventually, the battle comes to an end. With the dawn, the city hidden underground emerges once again. Silence slowly returns to the city. everyday life gradually returns to this city. The city built for battle becomes once again a place where people live. And so the journey through this small world comes to an end. Small Worlds is not something you experience just once. When you know more, the way you see it changes. If you plan to visit, please take a closer look at the details as well. You are sure to discover a story that is uniquely yours. Until our next journey. At the end of the journey, we stop by the souvenir shop. Here, small fragments of the worlds we saw today are lined up. Miniatures and figures. The world you just saw can now be held in your hands. Placing items into a tray feels like the journey is slowly coming to an end. From the bright exhibition area, we gradually return to real-world light. When you step outside,